Nutrition in humans, we know that nutrition is a process by which nutrients from food are absorbed and processed by the body to grow, reproduce, and to maintain good health. Okay? And to work also. Here you can write to grow and work, to reproduce, and to maintain good health. In humans, the mode of nutrition is called holozoic mode, feeding on complex organic matter. What is holozoic? Holozoic means feeding on complex organic matter. So whether it is human beings or whether it is the animals, large animals, the mode of nutrition is called holozoic, feeding on complex organic matter. So we don't just absorb sunlight or water, these are or carbon dioxide. These are very simple matters, not complex matter. Most of the food that is eaten by humans is in insoluble form. Therefore, this food has to be first broken down and converted into simple soluble forms. This process carried out, this process is carried out by digestive system. So why we need, the question appears, why we need a digestive system, or animals need digestive system and plants do not need the digestive system. There is no digestive system in plants. The reason is that we need a complex organic matter to be broken down into simple organic matter. So for that, there is digestive system. Now, if we consider the digestive system, this is the whole digestive system, which is of the human digestive system. Okay? Human digestive system contains everything. Okay, nasal cavity, and you need to remember this diagram: nasal cavity, mouth, salivary glands, okay, tongue. All these are part of esophagus, stomach, liver, gallbladder, small intestine, then large intestine, and rectum, and then anus. Everything is part of the human digestive system. And remember, in this particular chapter, yes, that is also known as buccal cavity. Okay, Arush. In this chapter, there will be slightly more than NCRT because different schools have their books also. Okay, so because they run their own books and those cover slightly more than NCRT, those parts have been included here. The digestive system of the human body consists of series of organs, which I have shown in the previous diagram. These are mouth, esophagus, stomach, small intestine, large intestine, rectum, and anus. These are the organs. These organs together form the long tubular, means in the form of tube, alimentary canal through which the food we eat passes. So if you see this diagram again, everything from mouth starts and it propagates in form of a tube. This tube might be, you know, flattened at some spaces. This tube might be swollen at some places. Okay, but it is anyway a tube. Till the end, it is a tube only, and this is known as alimentary canal. And food passes through this alimentary canal. The salivary glands, pancreas, and liver are the digestive glands. These are glands. Salivary glands, pancreas is also a gland, liver is a gland that secrete digestive juices into the alimentary canal. So they are not part of directly of alimentary canal. Alimentary canal has mouth, okay, esophagus, stomach, small intestine, large intestine, rectum, anus. Everything is part of this esophagus. But liver is outside this. Salivary glands are outside. Okay. And pancreas also we will be talking about. Okay, here. This is outside. But they release the digestive juices into the esophagus. The process involved in nutrition are these are the processes. Okay. First is ingestion, then digestion, then absorption, then assimilation, and ingestion. So when we talk about the nutrition, and in detail in ninth grade, you will have chapters basically. Ninth standard, one chapter as nutrition. For all these processes, we will have chapters. Now, ingestion, digestion, absorption, assimilation, ingestion. Ingestion, taking food inside, okay, from the mouth. Then digestion in stomach. Then absorption in small intestine, largely in a small intestine. Okay. Then assimilation means the absorbed nutrients, okay, are provided to the tissues, cells of the organs. That is assimilation, means utilization, utilization of nutrients. And then ingestion means excretion. So ingestion in detail now is the actual taking in the food from the external environment. The term used is ingestion. We ingest food through our mouth. Yes, Arush, correct. So the mouth is situated at the beginning of the alimentary canal. So mouth is part of alimentary canal. The mouth is also used for other functions like talking, etc. For example, tongue is there now. The tongue is muscular organ that helps you taste food. It has taste buds to help you differentiate between sweet, salty, sour, and bitter foods. Teeth. Now, this part is slightly beyond NCRT. The teeth present in the mouth help in biting and chewing different types of food. While eating, the teeth cut and grind food to break it down into smaller particles. What is the function of teeth? If it is asked, the function of teeth is to cut and grind the food to break it down into smaller particles or smaller pieces. The teeth are coated with enamel, which is the hardest substance in the body. Hardest substance in human body is the enamel on the teeth. There is no other cell in human body which is more hard or harder than enamel. Beneath this is the dentine, which is softer than enamel. I'll show you the diagram. Teeth are of four types: incisors, canines, premolars, and molars. So if you see the diagram, incisors are these two on one side. In total, how many? Four here, okay, and four at the top. Four in bottom, four at the top. Incisors, but I am considering only one part of it. So if you consider one part of it, two, and then you have canine, one tooth has canine, then two premolars, and then these three are molars. Incisors are in the front of the mouth. They are chisel shaped and mainly used for biting and cutting, not grinding. Incisors are not used for grinding. biting and cutting only. Canines are pointed and used to piercing and tearing the food. Piercing and tearing the food. Premolars have a flattened surface and are used for grinding food into small pieces. Molars also same function. Molars are similar to premolars but are larger. These are also used for grinding. Milk teeth and permanent teeth. Humans have milk teeth during childhood. Milk teeth begin to appear when the child is just a few months old. There are 20 milk teeth. Okay? In adults, there are 32 teeth. Milk teeth are only 20, 10 in each jaw, consisting 4 incisors, 2 canines, and 4 molars only. 4 incisors means 2 here and 2 here in lower jaw, for example. Then there will be 2 canines. Okay. Then there will be 1, 2, 1 molars.
Sir, premolar.
Total 4. In children, these are called molars. Okay. Because anyway, there is nothing like that. These are different because these are not different. If remember, pre or post appears when there is main one first. If main one is not there, how can you define pre or post? Okay. So if there is no pre, it is molar. Okay. So in total, 10 in each jaw. So this is the diagram where I said that the outermost layer is enamel. Then beneath that is dentine. Dentine is slightly less harder than enamel, okay, or you can say softer than enamel. Then you have gum here. Sometimes this is asked that what are the precautions you need to take care of your teeth. Tooth decay is caused by bacteria present in the mouth. These bacteria act on small bits of food left in the mouth after a meal to form a soft sticky tissue called plaque, which sticks to our teeth and gums. So remember, bacteria do not directly act on our teeth. Bacteria actually act on the food which is left behind. And the plaque created sticks to the teeth. These bacteria in the mouth also change sugar into acids, which destroy the tooth enamel. So both plaque and sugar are bad for teeth because acids are produced. So what is harmful for teeth? Plaque and acid. These are the products by the action of bacteria which are harmful for teeth. Bacteria do not act on teeth directly. Bacteria act on food and produce plaque and acid, which will result in tooth decay. So plaque and increased acids, these two actually in the mouth result in tooth decay and sometimes gum problems also. Bacteria get into the space between the teeth and damage the fibers which hold the teeth in place. This loosens the teeth, which may result in it falling out. So, apart from decaying the tooth, it may loosen the tooth also. The whole tooth can come out. Mm, somewhat correct. That is something deficiency disease. Okay? Here, the action of bacteria. This is due to action of bacteria, not due to deficiency. Okay? Now, this is Siddhi, that is lactobacillus basically. Okay, I will be talking about it. We can reduce both tooth decay and occurrence of gum diseases by, this is the precautions if question appears, by reducing the intake of sweets, sugary foods, and aerated drinks such as colas, brushing our teeth regularly and after every meal, changing our toothbrush when the bristles become soft or uneven, soft or uneven or rough, not sharing our toothbrush with anyone, using fluoride toothpaste as it not only helps to strengthen the enamel but also to resist the effect of acids released by bacteria. So fluoride based toothpastes are helpful in two ways, that it helps, the fluoride helps strengthen the enamel and also resists the effect of acids released by bacteria on the tooth enamel. Our dental floss is basically very thin tape which is used to remove the food or bacteria in between the teeth. That is floss. Next, visiting a dentist regularly, once in every 6 months, to get the teeth and gums examined. Now, this is some pictorial view to show how the tooth gets damaged. So initially, if the enamel is damaged, then it is not experienced by any pain. No pain is experienced by the person if it is just the enamel. Okay? But if it enters the dentine, this portion is dentine. So if the decay is such that the enamel is damaged here and it enters the dentine, then some pain will be felt. It means decay is eating through the dentine. After that, there is pulp. This portion is pulp. But if it reaches the pulp, then it is severe toothache. So if severe toothache starts, it means the damage is extreme. The decay eventually reached the pulp, enamel, dentine, pulp. And when it reaches down through the root, this is called root, then abscess is formed. Abscess is just a mass, okay, of cells. So because it takes space and tries to expand that space, so this mass tries to expand itself. So that results in very severe pain. Germs get to the base of the tooth, forming an abscess. Abscess is some mass of tissues, and this results in very severe pain. So if you try to understand again, only enamel, then here in dentine, then here in pulp, and here to the roots and mass of cells, that is abscesses formed. Digestion. So digestion is a process basically. To be of any value to the body, the food is taken in through the mouth must enter the blood. So if the nutrients actually should reach the blood, otherwise there is no use of getting the food, and be distributed to different parts of the body. So blood distributes the nutrients along with oxygen to all cells of the body. Digestion is the breaking down of food into simpler soluble compounds by enzymes. Enzymes are the compounds which actually break down the food, okay, digest the food, which are manufactured by various cells of the digestive system. Write down this definition and memorize right now, because this is very common question in your examination. What is digestion? It is breaking down of food. How you will memorize? You will say digestion is breaking down of food into simpler soluble compounds by enzymes. Okay? These are produced by cells of digestive system. So this is how you will draw a map in your mind. If it is asked, you need to write these points. Digestion is breaking down of food into simpler soluble compounds by enzymes which are produced by cells of digestive system itself. During this process, large insoluble pieces of food are broken down into soluble substances. Large insoluble pieces to simpler soluble pieces. This is the process of digestion, which are small enough to be absorbed through the walls of the intestine and then into the bloodstream. This involves both physical and chemical actions. The physical actions involve chewing to break the solid food into smaller pieces. So here we are not converting these into particle level, okay? This into smaller pieces only, chewing. Then churning. Churning is done in the stomach to help mix the food with the digestive juices. What is churning? Churning is mixing with digestive juices in stomach. Chemical actions Obviously by enzyme, digestive juices to break down carbohydrates to simple sugars. So within food, you have carbohydrate, you have proteins, you have fats. So carbohydrates are broken down into simple sugars. Okay. And why carbohydrates are required? For energy. That's why if we take sugar directly, we get instant energy. Why do we get instant energy when we consume sugar directly? Because then it does not require carbohydrates to be broken down into simpler sugars. These are already sugars, so these can be easily absorbed by the blood and provide energy to the cells. Then fat to fatty acids and glycerol. These are names of the compounds. Okay? Fatty acids and glycerol. What glycerol is, actual formula is something we will be talking about in 12th grade. Then proteins to amino acids. Again, more about protein, amino acids in 12th grade chemistry. And if you have biology, then even in 11th grade. So this is the diagram depicting these processes, all three processes. Okay. Proteins are converted to amino acids by the action of gastric juices and enzymes. Starch molecules means carbohydrates. Carbohydrates. Again, by the action of gastric juices and enzymes, get converted to glucose. Glucose, simple sugar, means simple sugar. That's why you say that when you consume glucon D, you get instant energy. That is simple sugar. Okay. You don't need to break it down to further simpler sugars. Fat molecule, again by action of gastric juices and enzymes, converted to fatty acids and glycerol. So this summarizes the three chemical actions on food, on protein, on starch, that is carbohydrate, and on fat. Digestion starts as soon as food is put in the mouth. So it's not that digestion starts when food reaches the stomach. No. The moment saliva is mixed, digestion starts. The food is chewed and mixed with saliva. The process of chewing food during which it is mixed with saliva is known as mastication. Okay, mastication is the process, just right? Mastication is the process of mixing the chewed food with saliva. Mastication. Saliva is a digestive juice, okay, made by the salivary glands in the mouth. So it is released in the mouth by salivary glands. Salivary glands are not part of esophagus, not part of alimentary canal. So it moistens the food, makes it easier to swallow. It also converts some starch into sugar. So remember, there are two actions, both physical and chemical, in the mouth. Physical actions are it moistens the food, and lubricates the food. Easier to swallow means lubricates the food, the saliva. But at the same time, it converts starch of the food into sugar. Not all, whatever comes in contact with the saliva. So this one, last one is chemical action. The tongue helps to mix food with saliva. It aids chewing and swallowing of food. So it helps in chewing and swallowing of food. The tongue also rolls the food into a bolus, which is easy to swallow. Bolus means something of this shape, which is easy to swallow. The bolus is pushed down the gullet or esophagus, that is food pipe. So these are different names, gullet and esophagus for food pipe. In American English, you don't have this O. So this is British English where you have O, but pronunciation is almost similar, esophagus. Now in esophagus, what actually happens while swallowing, a flap called the epiglottis prevents the food from entering the lungs and choking. Means the function of epiglottis is to block the path which is towards the windpipe. So this is a valve actually. This is a flap which acts as valve. Means it blocks the entry. So if this one is windpipe, this one is food pipe. So the flap actually covers the windpipe. It covers the windpipe. So the food can only go to esophagus. When we breathe in, then again this flap opens the windpipe. Then there is one term, peristalsis. Okay, peristalsis. Peristalsis is actually pushing down the food, that is bolus, okay, ball of food, bolus, by wave-like motions. Now, it takes about 6 seconds for solid food to reach the stomach after it is swallowed. Liquids travel down the esophagus more rapidly than solids. That is, yes, obviously true. Now, this one is important. Okay, the walls throughout the alimentary canal push the food in a wave-like action called peristalsis. How it happens? First, the food is here. Okay, food is here. Then these muscles contract. So pressure here and it is pressurized here. So due to this pressure, the food ball moves downward. After that, it is pressed here. So this way, in a wave-like motion, okay, this is the wave formed here, like this, like this. The wave is like this, okay. So a wave is formed. So this contraction actually from here, then here, then here, forces or pushes the food downwards. And this action is known as peristalsis. This wave-like action which pushes wave-like action by contraction of the or by contracting the muscles of the esophagus is known as peristalsis. Now, if we talk about the carbohydrates, carbohydrates are organic compounds, that is starch, sugar, etc., that have carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen in ratio 1 is to 2 is to 1. Means carbon, hydrogen, oxygen. So if this is 6, this will be 12, this will be 6. 6 is to 12 is to 6 is actually 1 is to 2 is to 1. If we simplify, simple math, it is actually the formula of glucose. Glucose is type of sugar, that is carbohydrate, and the formula of glucose is C6H12O6. Same is the formula of fructose also, C6H12O6. Okay, same is formula of fructose also. The only difference is here structures are different. Formula is same, but their structures are different. Means how these are placed inside, how carbon, hydrogen, and oxygens are placed, that structure is different. So all these are carbohydrates having ratio of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen as 1 is to 2 is to 1. Peristalsis, the pushing of food through the walls of the alimentary canal in a wave-like action. Memorize this simple statement. Peristalsis is pushing of food through the walls of alimentary canal in a wave-like action. Specifically, if you are willing to appear in Science Olympiad, these points are important. Digestion in the stomach. So we talked about movement of food from mouth to stomach, and that is through esophagus. Now digestion in stomach means when the food has reached in the stomach. Although digestion starts in the mouth, most of our food is digested in the stomach and the intestines. Most of the food is digested in stomach. So Smita, alimentary canal is everything from mouth to rectum. Okay? That tube is called alimentary canal. So if you remember that diagram I talked about,
Yes, sir.
here in this diagram, this part, everything from here to here is a tube. So this tube is actually known as alimentary canal. So most of the digestion occurs in stomach. Enzymes present in the digestive juices start the digestion of proteins into amino acids. And you know proteins get converted into amino acids. Fats get converted into fatty acids and glycerol. So those things you need to remember. Carbohydrates get converted into simple sugars. The hydrochloric acid in the stomach kills germs and also helps the enzymes to work. HCl is the formula of hydrochloric acid. Hydrogen, chlorine, they form hydrochloric acid. So this hydrochloric acid is one of the juices released by stomach. Stomach wall releases hydrochloric acid. which kills germs and helps enzymes to work. Enzymes to work means helps enzymes in digestion. Gentle movements of the stomach wall churn the food along with the digestive juices to convert it into a semi-solid substance called chyme. So in stomach, what happens? In stomach, the food is churned, and what you get chyme. Okay? The churned food is known as chyme. Means mixed with the digestive juices and converted into the smaller pieces, very small pieces here. Okay, it is actually minced. The food is actually minced. So this chyme is actually minced form of food. Then the food is passed through into small intestine at intervals. At some intervals, the valve opens. Okay. So more about it, what are the parts we will be talking about, but in detail, duodenum, etc. Although little bit we will be talking about here also, but ninth grade in detail. Digestion in the small intestine. So what happens in small intestine? Greater part of digestion takes place in small intestine, which is about 6 meters long. So although it is called a small intestine, it is longer than the large intestine. Large intestine, the name is because its diameter is large. So large intestine, the diameter is large. A small intestine, yeah, which is connected here, the diameter is small. So the difference, the naming is not on the basis of length. The name is on the basis of diameter. So it is 6 meters long. And 6 meters long is the length of normal room. Okay? The 6 meter long, that much long is a small intestine. The food is mixed well with enzymes produced in the walls of the small intestine, bile from the liver. So which juice is secreted by liver? Bile. And pancreatic juices from pancreas. These are mixed well with the churned food, that is chyme. Bile, what is the function of bile? Bile breaks down fat into tiny droplets which can be easily acted on by enzymes. The function of juice bile, which is secreted by liver, is to break down fat into very tiny droplets. Enzymes then break down fats into fatty acids and glycerol. Understand it diagrammatically. Churned food. Churned food, when bile is mixed into it, it converts, rather right, just fat. Fat in churned food. Bile acts on it and breaks down. Just a second. I have to take this call. So bile actually breaks it down into tiny droplets. Then on these tiny droplets, enzymes work, and they convert these to fatty acids and glycerol. So if you understand with the path flow diagrams, it will be very easy for you to recall these in the examination. Enzymes are, Sushmita, enzymes are chemical compounds, okay, which are used to digest the food. In seventh grade, this much is sufficient. What actually enzymes are, you will study in 12th standard if you don't opt for biology. If you opt for biology in 11th standard, then you will study in 11th standard. Not more than this one is required in 7th. Then pancreatic juice breaks down starch into simpler sugars. So you know that we talked about carbohydrates are converted to simple sugars. Carbohydrates are converted to simple sugars. Now, which juices are responsible for that? Pancreatic juices are responsible. So for fat, bile is required, and then enzymes act. For carbohydrates, pancreatic juices are required to convert these to simple sugars. Understand the process, the conversions, and what are the chemical juices required for that. These are all chemicals basically. So pancreatic juices convert proteins also to amino acids. Again, you will write here pancreatic juices. Okay. Fat, bile, tiny droplets, then enzymes, fatty acids, and glycerol. All three processes here broadly covered, although which pancreas juices are there, those are different. Okay. Now the process absorption. Okay. The process absorption. Remember, there is difference in absorption and assimilation. After that, this absorption, the process is assimilation. Absorption is the uptake of the soluble digested food into the blood stream of the animal. So mixing of the digested food. So here you have food. Okay. Food is here. This is shown just a cross section of the small intestine. So suppose this is the small intestine. This is the portion shown here. This one only. Okay. So here you have food, digested food. Digested food means that the carbohydrates are converted to simpler sugars, fats converted to fatty acids and glycerol, okay, and proteins converted to amino acids. These are absorbed into the bloodstream. Now here it is blood. Blood is outside this. So all these are actually the capillaries of blood. through which the nutrients are mixed into blood. So nutrients can pass through this wall, this membrane actually, and these can mix to the bloodstream. For that, there are many structures on the inside of the small intestine. So this is very rough surface, very rough surface. Okay. So the food which has now been reduced to simple and soluble substances is absorbed from the small intestine into the blood. The absorption of food occurs through millions of small projections in the inner walls of the small intestine known as villi. Okay. The singular is villus, plural villi, similar to radius and radii, similar to that. Okay. Now, what are these projections and why these are required? Actually, if you see the surface, if this is the surface, say this is the surface, simple, and here is the blood, and nutrients are here. And these nutrients need to be absorbed by this surface. The absorption will increase if this surface has larger surface area. To have the larger surface area, what happens actually? On this surface, there are projections. Projections means like, now if you see, the surface area has increased because instead of flat, this much was the surface area. Now the surface area is this. Okay. So because the surface area increases, that's why villi are there. So villi actually increase the surface area. So now more nutrients are in contact with the blood. So villi help the increase in rate of absorption. So villi increase the surface area and increase the rate of absorption of nutrients into the blood stream. The soluble food enters the blood through the thin walls of the blood vessels in the villi. So these villi actually have very thin wall, very thin wall, basically membrane, through which the nutrients can pass from the small intestine to the bloodstream. Then assimilation. Assimilation is the process where it is utilized. So the nutrients have now mixed within the blood, but now these have to be utilized by the cells of the animal. So assimilation is the final stage when digestive food is used by the body as fuel. So utilization is assimilation. Keyword related to assimilation is utilization. Used by the body as a fuel. Clear? So it is different from absorption. Absorption is just mixing of the nutrients into the blood. Assimilation is using those nutrients by the cells.